Okay, let's take a look at some more equations. So y equals 2x. We're going to graph it with a table of values. -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Let's draw a graph off to the right. Using graph paper is going to help you, x and y. I'm going to be lazy and not write those arrow tips. Find out from your teacher if they want you to draw them every time. So I'm going to write down the equation, y equals 2x. I'm going to take the first x value in the table, -2. I'm going to substitute it in for x. Y equals 2, and I'm going to substitute with brackets. This means times. So y equals 2 times -2. We're taking a positive and timesing it by a negative. Therefore, the answer is positive. Excuse me, a positive times a negative. Therefore, the answer is negative. And 2 times 2 is 4, -4. I'm going to put that point in the table. Y equals 2, open bracket, 2x, writing the equation down every time until you get more comfortable. Taking the next x value, I didn't write the point down. I should be doing this stuff in proper order. Finding the point, -2, 4. -4, the point that we just figured out. You should be putting your points on as you go. -2, -4 is here. -2 on the x, 2 to the left on the x, down 4. I'm going to label that point -2, -4. Now again, the next x value is -1. I've written the equation down off to the right, y equals 2x. I'm now going to substitute with brackets. Y equals 2, open bracket, -1, close bracket. Y equals, taking a positive times it by a negative, -2. 2 times 1 is 2. Circle my answer, putting that point in the table. -1 on the x, left 1 on the x, down 2 on the x. Down to -2. I forgot to put my ticks, calling each tick of my graph paper being 1. Which I've just put on the graph. Now I'm going to label that point that we just figured out, -1, -2. Now I'm going to start doing the rest of the values in my head. X is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. 0 for y. Put the point on the graph, 0, 0. Label the point, 0, 0. Next value in the table, x is 1. Put a 1 in for x. 2 times 1 is 2. 1, 2. Put the point on the graph, 1, 2. Label the point. You may also start recognizing things like how the points just go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. We're going to start picking up on some of those patterns in higher level grades, or feel free to go ahead and watch those and do those on your own now. Now, x is 2, putting 2 into the equation, y equals 2x, x being 2 in the table, 2 times 2 is 4, and putting the point on the graph, 2, 4. Let's be lazy and not label that point. Let's put a line through it. Can we connect the line all the time? Not all the time. When we have equations, we can. We're going to be taking a look at word problems where we can't connect the lines. All sorts of fun stuff. Okay, let's put a line through this one. Let's do another one. Y equals 2x plus 1. How are we going to graph this thing? Well, you're going to be asking this question every single year for 5 or 6 or 10 years from now. And anytime anyone ever in the class asks you, how do you graph something? I'm going to ask my associate, he's in the other room. Michael, how do we graph things?
Table of values.
Table of values, really? What about economics in 4th year university?
Table of values.
Advanced physics?
Maybe table of values.
Math 8, 9, 10, 11, 12?
Table of values.
He's yelling table of values, table of values, table of values. I cannot stress this enough. We're going to learn all sorts of tricks. When everything fails, table of values. So let's make a table. X, Y. Let's take x values. Again, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Again, in the future, you're going to do a better job of deciding which values. I hope you're writing normal size. You need to shrink this up a tad. So again, let's draw a graph off to the right. Notice when I'm doing stuff, I put stuff perfectly on top of each other. So in the last set of notes, the y-axes were on top of each other. Notice now the y-axes are still on top of each other. It's going to allow you to start seeing things more easily, etc. So again, I'm going to write the equation y equals 2x plus 1. Now, I'm going to take the first x value in the table, -2. I'm going to substitute it with brackets, 2 open bracket, -2 plus 1. Y equals, I'm going to do both calculations separately. 2 times -2 is -4. plus 1. Y equals negative 4 plus 1 is equal to negative 3. Circle the answer, put it in the table, write it directly beside negative 2 comma negative 3. Look, I forgot to label my x and my y axis. 1 and 1. Notice I didn't even put the ticks on because I'm using graph paper. Now, we're going to the left 2. Hover my pencil to the left 2 on the x-axis, to negative 2 on the x-axis. Then down 3. Label the point, negative 2 comma negative 3. Now, do the next point. So, excuse me, I forgot to close my bracket. So usually I'd go off to the right on the same line as I was doing all my equations, but I accidentally wrote it up a little bit. So I'm just going to skip a line below that point. Y equals 2x plus 1. Now, the next value in the table that I want to substitute is negative 1. So I'm going to do that. So we get y equals 2 open bracket, negative 1 close bracket plus 1. I'm going to do this one in my head. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2 plus 1 is 2 times negative 1 is negative 2 plus 1. So I'm going to be at negative 2 on the number line. Negative 2 on the number line. I'm going to do the right one. So I'm going to get negative 1. Or your calculator, circle your answer. Put it in the table. Whoops. Oh, excuse me. Perfect. Negative 1, negative 1. I'm going to move that up a tiny little bit. When I shrunk it, it messed that up, but your table should look perfect. So we just figured out negative 1, negative 1. Let's put that on the graph. Negative 1 on the x, 1 to the left on the x, down 1. To negative 1 on the y, so we get negative 1, negative 1. Now I'm going to do the rest in my head. The equation is y equals 2x plus 1. The next value in the table is x equals 0. Substituting 0 in for x, 2 times 0 is anything times 0 is 0. Plus 1 is 1. Put that point on the graph, 0, comma 1. Label that point, 0, comma 1. Next value for x in the table, 1. Substituting 1 in for x. Now I know all these little English sentences that I'm thinking are the exact thoughts that you should be having, and in the future you won't have those thoughts. So lots of people just look in the table and go, x is 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. I think x is 1. Substituting x into the equation means 2 times 1 equals 2 plus 1, 3. The next value for x is, plot the point, 1, 3. Label the point, 1, 3. Next x value is 2. Substituting 2 in for x. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Putting that point on the graph, 2, 5. Labeling the point, 2, 5. Then I can look at everything. I get my line. Again, not always a line. But with these what are called linear equations, we're going to see lines. And then if you mess up on one of the points and it's not on a line and you know it should be a line, then that's a good indicator. So I'm going to quickly flow back to the last page of notes and see if we can see a tiny little idiosyncrasy. So we drew the line y equals x. Then we did the line y equals x plus 1. I put the graphs perfectly on top of each other. Notice the graph of x plus 1 is just the graph above x up 1. And then we did the graph of 2x, and then we did the graph of 2x plus 1. And the graph of 2x plus 1 is just the graph of 2x up 1. And you'll notice that the graph of x has a certain shape or slope, and the graph of 2x has a certain shape or slope. And slowly in grade 9 and 10, we're going to be looking at more of those relationships and then taking a look at a whole bunch of other shapes and seeing how they move around. Then taking a look at all sorts of real-life examples and how we can apply real-life examples to graphs and how we can read graphs and better use data in the future to make better decisions.